Hi, Matt Johnson here, another episode of Deck Talk. Today, we're going to touch on something that I've been getting a lot of questions on. A lot of guys have been following my fishing reports on various websites, and I've been catching a lot of fish on crankbaits. So what I'm going to talk about today is the simple yet detailed aspects of fishing a crankbait and how it becomes effective for you on the water. So we're going to talk about Crankbait Anatomy. This is going to be somewhat of a short, quick, informative episode. I'm going to try and go forward this season hitting on main points and maybe trying to put out more episodes than just doing one every week or so, but smaller in series in terms of length of time. So this is going to be Crankbait Anatomy. We're going to focus here on the Salmo Hornet. I think most people understand the Hornet, how it operates, how it works. It's probably one of the most popular crankbaits, especially in the walleye world right now, in terms of winning tournaments, casting checks. Tommy Scarless done exceptionally well. Corey Studer done exceptionally well. There's many Doc Sampson, there's many top-level walleye anglers out there fishing this Salmo Hornet and catching a lot of fish. So let's just talk about specifically more in general the aspects of a crankbait. There's some things I really want to focus on this article or this segment is going to be the ways in which a crankbait performs in relation to the weight of the bait, the shape of the bait, and the lip design. So let's take the Hornet for example, and this can be kind of uniform for across the board no matter what brand you're fishing, but for me this Hornet is kind of the most versatile option. They have a different series of Hornets. You have the 4, the 5, the 6, then you have some that are weighted and non-weighted, and then you have shallow and deep version. So if this one style of crankbait, you can do everything from this 4 you see here, relatively small, gives you kind of the forage offering that most walleyes, bass, pike are targeting, kind of that 2-inch profile minnow, and then it goes up to the 5 and then to the 6. So you've got 3 variations of size, all kind of have their place in time. And then you move on with the lip variations. This happens to be a deep version. You can see that lip there is a little longer than the other, and then the standard version, the shallow version, is going to have obviously a shorter lip, so it doesn't dive as deep. So these baits work great on a retrieve, work great on a trolling application. So let's go into some more detail in terms of what it means to variance or take the difference in the lip. So for me, let's say you're going to cast to a piece of structure. Let's say that piece of structure is in deep water versus shallow water. Let's say it's close to shore. If there's a presentation closer to shore in shallower water, you're going to want a shallower running crankbait because the swoop action on the retrieve back to the boat is going to stay in the strike zone longer, meaning if I was to cast this bait, let's say over a deeper piece of structure, it's going to want to dive fast, hit its maximum depth for a short period of time, and then come back to the boat. Where a shallow bait, let's say in shallower water, working shallow cover, it's going to dive a little more gradual. It's going to stay at its desired depth longer before it comes back up to the boat. So this is going to dive fast, dig into the ground, or dive fast and stay deep versus the shallower crankbait that's going to be a longer cast and it's going to stay in a more constant action. And it all comes down to the structure you're fishing, the strike zone, where the fish are located, and all those things. Because there's times where, you know what, I'll cast a crankbait that dives down 10, 12, 13 feet into 6 feet of water because I want it to really bang up that gravel, cause a lot of ruckus, cause a lot of noise, and attract those fish in from a distance. So for me, like I said, the beauty of the Salmo Hornet is that it's very versatile. It catches a variety of different fish. You can dictate the size. It's got a dozen or so color options. The most popular color options, everything from the gaudy in-your-face fire tiger type patterns to what you see here is just the minnow-looking dace, which is more natural. So you can cover all the spectrums in terms of color and get this bait in front of the fish's face. One tip that I like to really talk about on is, let's say this crankbait, okay, this is the number 4 deep diving crankbait. Let's say it goes down 8, 10 feet on a cast. If you were to get, let's say, a weighted version, you can do what we call the countdown method. So when you make your cast, you might want to wait 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds as that bait drops to their desired depth, and then from there you retrieve it so it digs down even further. I can get a number 6 weighted Hornet down 20, 22, 23 feet of water, no problem. Target those fish on the bottom, especially at lakes like Minnetonka, Waconia, Forest Lake, many lakes across the Midwest where these bass are now housing on deep weed lines with hard bottoms like we discussed in the last episode. I can get down there deep and I can let them sink to the desired depth and then retrieve it to get down deeper. So just because it says it's going to go down 8, 10, 12 feet does not mean that's how deep it will go, depending on whether or not it's weighted or unweighted. So definitely keep that in mind on whether you decide to go with an unweighted bait or a weighted bait. So sometimes the unweighted baits are nice because they will actually float back to the surface. So if you do get caught in a snag, sometimes they'll sink back up. Same thing to the guys that are fishing them on trolling patterns, because if they're going to start to turn corners and do zigzag methods, if they got a spread of these hornets behind the boat, when you do the curve, it'll start to come back up and work a more erratic, different presentation pattern, which oftentimes can trigger a bite. So again, there's different ways and reasons in which you would choose weighted or unweighted. For me, weighted gets me down deeper because I can count it down. So if I'm casting for my deep water bass, I go to the larger number 6 Hornet in the weighted version. If I might be trolling for more finicky walleyes, you're trying to match the hatch on lakes like Minnetonka, Mille Lacs, Winnie, Cass, I might go to a smaller version, unweighted, and then cover more water with this in a trolling presentation. So as you can see, a very, very formal but very popular and versatile bait. The Salmo Hornet is a phenomenal choice. So we just touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of some of the smaller, intricate details of fishing a crankbait. Like I said, for me, size of the crankbait, depth, or how deep it's going to run based on the lip, and then the weight. Also consider, are you going to be casting or are you going to be trolling, because that can make a difference too in how you decide or choose which crankbait to use. If I want a deep build crankbait, I want to get down fast and efficient and target that hard bottom, or a bait that's weighted so it can sink and then I can start my retrieve. If you're trolling, it all depends on the depth and the speed in which you're moving your boat in terms of the lip and the profile design. So be ready to experiment, have a variety of different colors in the boat. I've seen many times where a natural pattern like this dace here catches a ton of fish, but then the next day it won't bite on this and it wants the most gaudy in-your-face color like a hot perch, a metallic series, a holographic series, whatever it might be. So for me, I usually have 4, 5, 6 different color crankbaits in the same pattern at all times. I know we walk into tackle shops and we go, wow, there's a lot of choices out there, but take advantage of some of the color options we have. Do your homework ahead of time, research some of the websites and the forums, and figure out what some of the hot colors are. Call your local bait shops, the local resort you might be at, and say, hey, I'm going to be up there. What's the native forage? Are they feeding on perch? Are they feeding on shiners, golden shiners? Are they feeding on chubs? Are they feeding on shad? What are they feeding on? So then you can make a better educated decision on what color crankbaits and size you take with you. So hopefully this helped answer some of the crankbait questions. I'm sure we'll touch on crankbaits more this season as we go into it, because crankbaits have been one of my hot patterns lately. So if you're targeting those deep water bass, don't forget the number 6 Salmo deep weighted Hornet. It will get down deep. It will fish outside milfoil ledges in 18, 20, 22 feet of water. No sweat. Make a cast. Count to 3, 4, 5, 6. All can drop down 8, 7, 8 feet. Then start your retrieve. Let's get to that maximum depth of 20 feet and you'll catch more fish. So vibration, sound, action. This bait is incredible. Works exceptionally well in a variety of situations. So get out there, have some fun. As you know, we're in the middle of the summer. The heat is on, water temps are reaching 80 degrees, fish are hitting reactive bites. That's where the crankbait's coming into play. The fish are schooling up deep, and there's a lot to be had. So Matt Johnson with Deck Talk, thanks for watching. I really appreciate the feedback. This whole episode is based off of a dozen or 15 questions I had on crankbaits. Hopefully that answers some of your questions. If not, you know how to get a hold of me. Matt Johnson at mattjohnsonoutdoors.com. Go to the website, mattjohnsonoutdoors.com. Plenty of ways to contact me from there. Give me some feedback, give me some suggestions for future episodes, and we'll keep you talking to you as we move into the summer. So good luck out there. Matt Johnson with Deck Talk. Thanks for watching.